Hey buddy, welcome back to Netcode-Hub channel. I am Frederick and I'm happy to meet you today. In this video, we are going to look at something called login. What is login and how can login help you in your application? This comprises of creating clients using Blazor and also Web API as a web service. Login is very important in any of them. And in this video, I'm going to take you through the reason why you have to implement login in your application. And actually, if you want to implement it, what are some of the ways that you can use and how you can implement this and log issues or events to console, to debug, to file, and now to a third-party tool or login management tool, that is Elasticsearch with Kibana. As you know, my name is Frederick and I'm happy to meet you, and I believe you are also. Alright, so to move or to push this forward, let me first use some few seconds or minutes to talk about login. So if you are hearing login for the first time, then yep. Login is the practice of recording all event, messages, or information during the execution of software application. Now, it serves several important purposes. Let's say, so when you start application, there might be an issue because normally in the application that you developed, when you started, hopefully there's going to be an issue during execution. And now this issue, how do you keep track of this issue? How do you rectify, how do you address this issue? That is the reason why you have to implement login. So login actually records all events that you want to in a database, in a console, in a file, or even in a third-party login management tool. And that is Elasticsearch is one. Okay, so we're going to look at how to do that. And also, let's see what are some of the importance of login. One, it is for debugging and troubleshooting. So developers use logs to identify and fix issues within their code, as I have already mentioned that. Now, when an error occurs, relevant log entries provide insight into what went wrong, and now doing so, it helps the developer to pinpoint the exact problem and now tackle that. Now, it also helps in the monitoring and diagnostics. So logs allow monitoring tools and administrators to track the health of performance of an application. By analyzing logs, you can detect anomalies, bottlenecks issues, or resource usage patterns. And also is for auditing and compliance. Organizations often require detailed record of system activities for auditing purpose. So log helps you to keep track of this action, security events, and compliance and regulations. So you can see that in general, log is very important as far as application is concerned. Now, what are the types of log? Maybe there's the next question that you'll be asking yourself. I got you, okay? The application logs, we have system logs, we have security logs, and now performance log. Now, there are a lot of login frameworks, okay, that we can use or that provide login libraries. Example of these libraries, they include, we have Serilog, and that is what you're going to implement in here. We have nlog, we have Sentry. Guess what? I believe you know more than that, right? So all of these you can use or you can implement any of them in your application. Now, in this one, we're going to be using Serilog. So in order for us to use the Serilog, these are the packages that we need to install on our project. So please pause the video and then try to install this. We need Serilog and also the ASP.core. We need enrichers, we need exceptions, and we need sinks. Now, these sinks, we're going to specify 3 sinks: console, debug, and file. Console is going to enable us to write to the console, and now the debug is going to enable us to write on the debug mode, and also the file here will enable us to write to the file. On top here, we also have elastic.serilog.sync, and now this also will enable us to write to the Elasticsearch. So make sure you have these packages installed, and now let's move on. So now let's see how to log information to console. So from your projects, we have a controller created in our controllers folder, and that is a default file weather forecast controller, and I believe you've seen yours. Now when you go to app settings.json, there's a default log settings in there, and this is used by Microsoft extension.login. Now since we are using Serilog, we can override this, and that is exactly what we're going to be doing. Now let's go to the program.cs file, and now we're going to configure login first in here. So log into the console. So let's have console in here. Now to do that, we have logger, that is log.logger. Then we can have access to equal to new. So with this log, we need to use what? Serilog. So using Serilog, you have that in here. So we then gonna have logger configuration, and now within this configuration we can have set to minimum level, and we want to set that to information. So when you go to the app settings, from the default login settings in here, we have minimum level to what? That is a log level. Default is information, and we're also setting up information down here. Aside from that, we can have access to write to. So under write to, we can write to console, then .create logger. So that's the whole setting that you need to do. Very simple one. You see that? Very simple. Okay, so now that we have this one, let's add our HTTP context. Let's try to make an HTTP call so we can log it to the console. Now let's have builder.services.add HTTP client. Let's go to the solution from our controller, and now in here we can create another one, and now this, that is going to be public async task, and that is action result, and this is just so make API call. That is the name. Okay, now within this we are going to inject our HTTP client down here. Then let's create an instance. So create an assigned field. Then we can say that, so we have results is equal to await HTTP client dot get async. Then we can specify HTTPS localhost. Let's put up any port at all, because this is going to give us an issue, but we still want to do that because we want to get the error from here. Okay, now we're going to be using try catch. And now in here, from this catch, we're going to say log.information. So we are logging information, and now with this we need to use Serilog. Now this information we can have, this is custom exception. Then maybe we can use the exception that we are having. So we can have this, then ex.message. So this is going to be an exception, and that's exactly what we are logging up in here. Okay, now let's give it a try, and now check it out. Alright, so now this is ready, and now let's check it out. So here we have login as our endpoint. Now if I click on this, it's going to make a call to the endpoint that we specified. But since this does not actually exist, we're going to have an issue. Now I need to check the console. You see we have this custom exception, and another connection could be made. Right, so we have this exception log onto the console because we made this log, we made the configuration to what? To write to console. Alright, so that's the way to write to console. Now let's see, how do you write to debug? So without doing, let me say I'll have to add .write to .debug. And now with this one, we have to see it here on the output. We have to see the response here. Okay, now let's check this out. So let's make sure that we have our debug output section ready, and that's the debug output. So we are going to see it here, the error that you're going to have. Now let's execute this. So once you write to the console, we're also going to write here, and we are expecting to see the response or the error is going to be thrown here. Exactly, and that's what we have it here. I don't know whether if you can see this. That's in the customer exception, no connection could be made. Once you have it in the console, we also have it in here. Okay, now how do you write this to a file? So in order to write to file, we have to add .write to. So we can specify multiple write to. Now this console, this debug, and now there is to file. This is the name that we are giving to our file in here. And as you can see, we specify this minimum level down here, so we still have it down here as well. That's the same as information. So this will be used for the console and now the debug, and now this is going to be used for the file. Okay, so then we have an output template, so we want to add date and time or date to the file. Okay, then row interval here is what every day you want to create this file. Okay, very simple one, and that's all that we need to do. So let's also run this, and now we are going to create this file to the root. So after running this application, clicking on the endpoint, we have to get a file that's my custom log.txt. So let's check it out. So once I click on it, make sure you check here to see whether the file will be created. Yes, so you can see now we have the file in here, and now we have the date and time. That is the template that we specified has been added to the file. Now that is the date. So this is the date 24/06/06, right? Now if I click on this, I must see the log. Let's see, there's a log. Okay. Let's try to open this file again and now see what this file entails. So I'm going to open with text editor. Okay, let me just click on this. Yeah, so that is our project, and you can see we have the file in here, and if I open the file, that is what we have. So we have the same thing specified down here. So with doing this, we can now write your message to the file. Now if I decide to to click on this multiple times, let's see. Now this is the wrong, so I'm going to have another one in here. Let's see. And I can see we have it, right? Now we're just going to have another one. So this keeps recording all events or all logs from our system. Yes, so now we've seen how to log to console, debug, and also to file. Now let's see how do you log to this log management tool, and that is Elasticsearch. So before we tackle this, let's first understand what Elasticsearch and Kibana is. You know, Elasticsearch and Kibana are integral part of the Elastic Stack, and it is known as the ELK stack, which comprises of 3 components: Elasticsearch, Logstats, and now Kibana. Now they are used for search, analysis, and now visualization of data in real time. So simply we can say that Elasticsearch, it is a database, and now Kibana, it is a UI, the visualization. And now this UI can enable you to access what we have in the database. So within this, we have to run the Elasticsearch, the database, and we also have to run the UI. In order for us to run these two files or these two links in here, what we're going to be doing here is you're going to be using Docker. Now we're going to run images of these, so we can have access to the Elasticsearch, that's the database, and we can have access to the Kibana. And now in configuring this Docker, we're going to create the Docker Compose file. This file, it is used to run multiple images. So we're going to configure the Elasticsearch and also the Kibana, and we're going to make sure that the Elasticsearch starts before the Kibana runs. because the Kibana depends on the Elasticsearch for the data. Okay, so that's what you need to do. Now, in order to do that, we first have to make sure we have Docker desktop application installed. So if you haven't installed that, go to Google and type in download Docker desktop. You can download that based on the operating system, whether you're having an iOS or, did I say iOS? Talking about Mac. Yes, okay. And you have Windows, so you can download them based on your platform. Okay, so now I have that already. And after that, we're going to create this Docker Compose file, and we're going to specify these settings in that file. Whereby after we are done with that, we can just run this by using Docker Compose, maybe app, to get this file run. And now we're gonna have the images being downloaded and are utilized in here to expose a default port so we can have access to it. Okay, so let's see how to go about that. So let's go to our projects, and in here from the root directory in here, I'm going to create a file, and now this file I'm going to name it as Docker Compose-YML. So YAML file, and that is what I have created. So in order to create this file, just right click on the project, and I'll go to add new item. And now for the item, you make sure you have the template, and you search in for YAML file, and now that is what you need to create. So docker-compose, and now this is what you need to do. So we specify the version, and now here we specify the image, as you can see. So this is the latest image, 8.13.4. There's the name, and there's the environment, and here we have the port. So in and out, you have it in here. So we're going to have localhost/9200. That's what we're going to be using to access the Elasticsearch. That's the Elasticsearch. Good. Aside from that, we go to the Kibana, and we also download the same version, 8.13.4. We're doing the same thing in here, and the name is Kibana. And now here, it depends on the Elasticsearch. So that's why we are specifying Elasticsearch URL to this. Now we have the port 5601, so that's what we're going to use to open up this Kibana. That's the visual, the UI. Okay, so this is a thing that we need to do. We specify our bridge as Elastic, and now the driver type here is what it is, bridge. Good, so this is what we need to do. So once we're done with this, can now save this and now close everything. You make sure we have our Docker also running, so make sure you open our Docker. Let me also open mine and make sure this Docker is running. So you can see that my Docker is starting. So let's wait for the engine to get started. Then we can now open our terminal and start working on this. That's right. So you can see that I have this created already. So there's a Kibana and 8.13.4 and 8.13. The same thing for this Elasticsearch. Good, but you're not having it. Yes, you're not having it. So just type in terminal, and I'll have your command prompt. So the terminal that you have in here, let's see. So I have this terminal, and I'm going to the user, to the C drive, and if I type in ls, I have all the folders in here. I'm going to open project folder, so cd project. That is where I have my project in. So you can see there is the project name, demo login with Serilog. I'm going to copy this, then cd to that, and if I type in ls, I have the solution name. So cd again, change directory to this, and if I type in ls, that's where I have this compose, docker compose.yaml, right? So I'm going to say that the file name is docker-compose, and I'm going to add app to it. Now this app is going to make sure if you have the image installed already, it's going to run it straight ahead. But in case you're not having, it's going to download it from the Docker-Hub. Okay, so you are not having it, so you're going to download that, then get it run. But since I have it already, it's going to run it straight ahead, and I can keep on moving. So let's click on enter here, and now let's see for this file to get started. And now although it is already launched, so let's see. Now you can see it has been created and it's running. You can see Kibana is already in use. So if I want to access this, what I need to do here is to open my, let me open. Okay, so I have this, and I'm going to say localhost /50, so as you can see 5601 for the Kibana. And now if I want to test, so localhost, and now this is 9200 to access the Elasticsearch. Okay, so we had to wait for some time. Now we have the Elasticsearch running. We have the Kibana also as well. Now let's go ahead and I'll make a refresh and I'll check this out. So you can see this is the Elasticsearch, and now this response tells us that we have the version 8.13.4. It tells you this is working. Now let's go to the Kibana and also let's reload this. Yes, and the Kibana is also working. Take note that the Kibana depends on the Elasticsearch for data, so that the Kibana can visualize the data on the screen. Good. So this is what we have in here. Now we have this running. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to integrate this into our API. We're going to make an API. That's an API call when we have an issue to this, so that the Elasticsearch can keep it and the Kibana can pick it from Elasticsearch and now visualize it for us. Good. Let's put as the background. Now let's go to our program, and now we're going to add Elasticsearch configuration. So let's go to our app settings, and now we're going to configure our Elasticsearch. So let's have this configuration for the URI. We have it down here. Good. Now we go back to the program, and in here we're going to configure that. So I'm going to start here. We're going to add one more. Now we have dot, so row by day, we have the interval by day dot, and we need Elasticsearch, so we have to use Serilog.sync, and we need to get configuration. So for configuration, we can just create a configuration file on top here so we can store everything. So you can see we are having this app.json, then we can now get that, okay, from here. And now we have a section known as Elastic configuration, and in it has a key known as the URI. You want to grab the value. Good. Now within this, we need to specify our data stream name, and here we need to use this namespace for the data streams. Okay, so let's also configure that. Great. So this is going to be the name for the stream, and we're going to pass it on into our Elasticsearch. Okay, so from the Kibana, we're going to have this having, as you can see from the app settings, there is a link of the Elasticsearch. So we're going to make an API or a post to this Elasticsearch with our issues. Then the Kibana will take it from there, from the Elasticsearch, and now display it in the UI form. This is very simple. Yes. Okay, so now let's save this and let's run this out. Alright, so this is ready. Now let's make sure our Elastic is also ready, available here. Now we're going to make an API. Let's create an issue. So we're going to have an issue. This issue is going to be displayed in the console. We have it down here. It's going to return to a file, and also to the debug section. We have it down here too. We have it in here. Okay. Now let's go to our Elasticsearch, and let's see whether we can find that. So in there, we go to observability logs, and now from this logs, it's loading data source, and we must have, yes, we have our log down here. So it has been captured, and now that is a log. Now you see in here, we can specify stream live. If I click on this stream live, see what happens. So I'm going to wait for every second, it's going to refresh it. And now let's see. So we're going to have a live data streaming when an issue occurs. So I'm going to put this aside here. Now watch whilst I click on this. So if I click on this, where we have this issue, this is going to get recorded, and I'm going to display it here. It's going to add it to the database, that's the Elasticsearch database, and now the Kibana is going to grab it. You can see we have it here, right? Yes, exactly what we have, and that is what we have in here. Okay, so aside from this, you can also, it has a feature that you can do with, we can make a search, as you can see from here. You can have, so let's stop this. You can specify, you can select this. So today on only for today. It's going to populate only today because you know Elasticsearch and Kibana is for search functionality. So in terms of searching for scrutinizing your errors, then Elasticsearch is the best for you, because in that you can generate graph, you can do a whole lot. Okay, maybe I'll have some time and I'll have a video on how to generate graph, how to integrate this well, how to even connect your database with this so you can make a search, generate graph, and so forth. But today we are focusing on how to just log your issues here and how you can make a search and then grab them. And that is exactly what we have. So you can see from here, that is today's date. We have these entries here, and you're going to keep track of it. You can also make a sort. You can make, as you can see from it, there are a lot of things that you can go through it. Okay, making this very nice and great tool for log management. All right, so that's what I want to show you today. So you've seen how to log issues or log errors to the console, to the debug, to the file, and also to an external login management tool such as Elasticsearch with Kibana. I believe you've learned something here. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'm going to catch up again. Till then, take care.